So we're about to gut this kitchen. We've been working in this kitchen for how long? About 15 years?
Yep.
So we've raised 2 boys. We've literally killed this kitchen, used it to its full potential. And
They've killed the kitchen.
They've killed the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to actually gutting it today and getting a new kitchen started. So are you excited about this?
No, I'm scared.
No, you're scared? All
I
right.
am. It's emotional and scary because I've had the same thing for 15 years and now it's all going to change. But
Yeah.
I'm excited for the end.
We actually purchased this house. It was going to be a rental, and they put in some really low-grade cabinetry, appliances, and it really hasn't been what you want. So we're going to build your dream kitchen, and we're going to fill it with Highland Cabinetry.
Yep.
We're going to take you through the entire process from start to finish, and let's put together a great kitchen. So this kitchen, I mean, we've had appliances break, we've replaced the appliances a few times, and we've got
This you
holes
can't
in the
even
countertops.
find anymore.
No, we couldn't find that. It's kind of why we actually had to think about redoing the kitchen a little bit, is because these are hard to find in this wider width.
They don't make them.
We're putting in an awesome 48-inch range. We're doing a great big hood. Looking forward to getting this out of here, and I hate that kitchen hole. It has never had the right size refrigerator in it, and
I don't
we
even
throw
know
stuff up
what
there.
could be in there.
Exactly. Well, it's supposed to have a refrigerator and a freezer in it, but it's never fit. So I just can't stand it anymore, and it's got to go. So we've got to get some nice equipment and put it in here. So you ready to get started?
Yeah.
So Dawson, what are we going to do today?
So today we're tearing out this whole kitchen. We're gonna start with the island because we're actually gonna try and save this island for a temporary kitchen in the other room. That's always a good idea when you're redoing your kitchen, is kind of choose what you want to keep and have, because usually the project takes a little longer than you expect, and it's good to have a temporary kitchen that you can still cook in. A lot of the customers take their oven out and put it into another room so they can still cook.
So you want to be able to function as a family and still have some items that you're normally going to use. So when we went through this kitchen, we kind of took out the best things that we kind of knew we were going to use over the next month, and the have-to-have items, and we're setting up a little secondary temp kitchen.
It's always a good idea. So this comes out first, keep the top and everything together as a countertop space, and then after that, we're just gonna start tearing away.
So one of the things we didn't like about this kitchen is this peninsula area. It seems to kind of close off the entire flow. So what we want to do is actually take this completely out, and then we're going to build a nice big island, and then kind of change this area to move the refrigerator over to there, so it has a little bit easier use as far as kind of coming in and out of the house. And we do a lot of entertaining outside, so we're going to completely change the overall layout, and the sink is going to go here. So the only thing we're really not changing is where the location of the cooktop is, and we're going to do a big 48-inch range there.
The design of this kitchen always kind of cut everything off, where that was the only aisle right there, and now commonly in most kitchens people want it open, kind of welcoming to the other room. So now you can actually access this room every which way around the island, and then a big island that we can sit at.
Yeah, and we do a lot of entertaining. We usually have 5 to 10 friends over, and we all kind of hang out in the kitchen like most families do with friends. And we want this to be a nice big open island so that people can kind of pull up to it, watch us cook. And we do some pretty nice cooking, so we'll show you some of that as well.
Usually a lot of people keep their appliances and sink in the same spot. Since we're taking this wall out, the plumbing does need to change, so you need to account for that. The sink should be here instead, so luckily it's an unfinished basement. Shouldn't be too bad, but it's all just stuff you want to plan for. Where things are moving, a lot of the times people keep them in the same place, like I said, but if you're changing everything, you want to account for that prior to tearing it apart.
Right. So we're planning ahead. We've talked to a lot of the trades, we've ordered the appliances, we've done the initial kind of layout of the cabinetry, and we're going to go in and actually confirm everything, which is a critical step that a lot of people miss. And then we wanted to make sure that we had everybody kind of lined up to get this done. The goal is to have this done in about 3 weeks if we can, and push through, and we're getting ready for the holidays, as usually you're trying to finish things before the holidays, right? But there's been a lot of prep work before we got to this day. It's really kind of going through and figuring out what obstacles are we going to have. Once we get the demo work done, we're going to go through and start to lay out cabinets and really kind of figure things out. It's again kind of a critical step that a lot of people miss. They do the initial measuring, and then they never go back and confirm things when the demo is done. And being a professional, that's what we want to do, and our dealers will do, is to make sure that you're going in there and double checking everything. The goal is to measure twice and cut once, right? So as custom cabinet makers, that's something we've always talked about doing. So take that second step and make sure that you've done a great field verification of that drawing.
Especially when you have all these trades lined up right after each other. If one thing goes wrong, everything gets pushed. And with people with tight schedules, they may be out a month. Like they plan for your
It's a
job.
snowball event,
Yeah.
right? You start kicking things out and it just starts to kind of snowball and the project goes a little awry. So the idea is to plan through it and make sure that you take the time and lay everything out so everybody knows what they're gonna do. And we're gonna do a project list and line out. We've got electricians showing up on Tuesday. We have the plumber showing up this weekend to kind of look at everything. I asked them all to come ahead of time and make sure that they have an understanding of what they're gonna do and have the appropriate parts as well. So again, it's that planning and that's confirmation of what we're gonna do that makes the project go a little smoother. So one of the goals that we wanted to have is to be able to sell and save some of this cabinetry as well as sell the appliances. So we're gonna be a little careful taking everything out. Luckily, Dawson is pretty good at taking care of stuff as he's pulling things out and doing demo day. So we're gonna list these on Facebook so we can recoup some of the money. My goal is to hopefully pay for about half of our appliances with the sale of our old appliances and the cabinet. So we're gonna try to see if we can pull that up. Things you can't save likely are like sink cabinets that have water damage.
Yep.
And then some things might get broken during the demo. We're gonna try to be careful, but it's likely something might break. So know that that's the case, but we're gonna list these on Facebook and Craigslist and try to see if we can recoup some of the money.
Another thing you want to take into account with your installer is cabinet installers like myself, we typically don't want to touch appliances. It's a big liability. So if you're trying to save your appliances, it's good to have an appliance company come out and remove them or remove them yourself. Sometimes we'll pull them out, but it's...
Depends on your installer.
Yeah.
So I typically, as an installer, wouldn't touch the appliances. They're pretty heavy. You need a couple of guys, especially in like a double oven like this. This probably weighs 300-400 pounds. Luckily, we're two big guys and he's gonna help me. As you know, Dawson is my son, so give me a little bit extra on this job. So hopefully we can get that done.
Before your demo, you need to take into account your flooring. If you have new flooring and you want to keep it safe, your installer will normally put down protective cardboard on it. With this flooring, a lot of it's getting ripped up, and then after they're redoing all of it, so we don't need to do that. Starting with the island, the first step is to see how the island was installed. So if you have a pretty thick island, it's likely they built a wall and then screwed the cabinets to the wall. Since this island is just the cabinets, it's 24 inches wide, so that's how you know it's just the cabinets. It's likely they screwed through the toe into the floor. First thing first, you would take all the trim off and then find those screws, pull them. If you weren't saving the island, I would say take the top off and then go cabinet by cabinet, but since we are saving the island, I will pull off all the trim, try and keep everything as one unit. I'll likely have to brace it to move it, but yeah, just pull off trim, find how it's connected and go from there.
We're a week into this project. How are you feeling so far?
Stressed.
You're stressed out?
Well, it's
But it's
just
going good.
chaos. Yes, everything's on time, everything's doing good things, but like I don't know this process like you do.
So we've had to kind of communicate a fair amount. So one of the tips that we always say is make sure that you're communicating because not everybody knows the process that happens here. So I know you had a million questions and it seems like you're starting to calm down because you see the work actually happening. Is that the case?
Yes.
Good. From a layout standpoint, what we're gonna do is we hated the way that this refrigerator would block this opening. You couldn't even get into the room. So if you're standing here, you're completely blocked off. You have to go all the way around. So what we're gonna do is move this refrigerator over to the open area of the room and place it. We've got a refrigerator here and a freezer here. It's in between the island and the nook area so you can get to it. We do a fair amount of entertaining, as we've said, and we want to make sure that we open up the flow. So that's a big change in our kitchen. So I'm looking forward to that change. And that was kind of an idea that we had at the very, very beginning. The number one thing that we have to get done and checked today is we have to get the cabinet order correct. So we're going to be working with Dawson today on the layout and make sure that all the cabinets that we're ordering are going to be correct. They fit as intended and all the electrical and plumbing is in the right place. So I can't stress this enough. It is the absolute number one thing that has to happen in every kitchen remodel is a field verification.
Today we're going to show you how to check your layout in the field. What's so great about Highland Cabinetry is their cabinets have a fast lead time, so you can do this in this process and get your cabinets quickly. So why this step is so crucial is because once you order your cabinets, it's kind of no going back from there. Anything that has issues, you're going to have to change either the cabinets or the layout of electrical, plumbing. So You want to lay it out on the wall. Make sure your electrical lands where you want it to, your lights land where it wants to, your plumbing, and then you also want to make sure your ceiling is tall enough for the cabinets you got. If you get really tall cabinets and you have short ceilings, sometimes it's going to pinch it. And then also your ceilings are usually not level, so you want to make sure you have the space for the cabinets you ordered. We'll start from the right side and kind of work our way over and drawing each cabinet on the wall. We will start with the filler. So this is an 1.5 inch filler, so you just do 1.5 inches, make a mark. The next is a 18 inch. So off of that, the right way to do is to burn an inch, which would make it a 19 right there. So that makes for an 18 inch opening. So then you just write what cabinet it is. This is a B18. And then after that, you have a 9 inch. Another thing you can do is put it at 9 and then just kind of score it with the end of the tape measure. And then it leaves you a nice little line. After that, we have a 40 inch range. So another really important thing to do is make sure you don't squeeze your appliances. So honestly, when I install, I leave a 1/16 on each side. So that'd be 48 and an 1/8, just because they're gonna be wiggling them in. You don't want it tight. If the cabinets or wall are out of plumb and they're kind of pinching, that can cause issues. So leave a little bit extra space if you can. Usually with the filler, you can kind of move it a little bit, but you do want the lower cabinets to be in line with the upper cabinets. As you can see on the layout, these are gonna be plumb with each other. So if you open this up, you kind of want to open this up, but with the cabinets above, it may make it difficult. So if you can, I always say leave just a little extra, but sometimes it's not always an option. That opening, everything lands where it needs to. You got your gas, all the electrical, and that's not interfering with any of the other cabinets next to it. The uppers are the same since everything is plumb. You don't really need to check your uppers.
So this is the stuff that we want to find. Currently with the drawings that we have is that we're going to come all the way out to here, which is past this wall, which is actually a bust in my opinion. I think we have to finish where the cabinets finish over there to have a line of sight be with the cabinets and not out into this flow of this room whatsoever. So we definitely need to shrink a little bit. So that drops a foot off of our island. And I think that'll help us with the flow as we look at, even in this space, as you and I get into this space and we've got wide shoulders to be able to kind of pass one another. And then if this refrigerator is open, it'll come out and you still have a little bit of a sneak by so you're not totally locked down. I hate the fact that I'm losing a foot off the island because I really wanted that space, but I would rather have flow than an extra foot where the cabinetry. So would you agree?
No, I don't understand.
Okay.
Why are you taking that away when all you talked about is an island?
So the island, because this space, the way we had it originally designed, is a little too snug for us big guys to walk through. Because as we all get together and the family gets together, we all kind of hang out right here, and I want to make sure that we still have good flow. We'll work on the cabinetry to get the optimum use out of the cabinetry, but we don't want to tighten the space too much.
Well, 12 inches sounds like a lot, though, when you're dealing with an island that was supposed to be
8 foot, but an 8 foot island is huge. A 7 foot island is plenty big enough, and we'll maximize it as much as we can. We've got under cabinet storage on the back side of it. We want to look at the consistency of the door sizes so it looks visually nice, but more than likely we're going to have to cut the center cabinet down. So symmetrically you would have 5 doors, which is actually a nicer look than 6. So the main reason why we're verifying that is to catch items like this. What we normally find is once we put cabinetry in the space, everything tightens up a little bit, and people don't like that feeling of having too tight of lanes. So we just fixed all that so we can get the order correct, move on, make sure that we've worked all the flow issues out and we've got the right cabinetry and we don't have to reorder cabinetry.
And also, even with your lead times, if you push your trades out, usually they are booked out weeks. So if you say, hey, it doesn't work this week, they'll be like, well,
you can't come back for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
In some cases. So
Exactly.
You want to get this right now so all your trades can keep moving.
Yep.
Okay. A quick pro tip for you when you're actually doing the field verification on the drawings. Use a red pen for one, and then go ahead and mark out the cabinet and then put a W1530 there in red. Circle it and VIF as you verified that in the field. And then I always put a check mark there that works.
Kevin's gonna be much happier with the changes we've made, so he can run around and be a crazy dog in the kitchen, have all the space he needs,
So one of the things we wanted to talk about is when we do the upper cabinets, what are we gonna do for the finished trim at the very top? I want something simple, so we're looking to see how level the ceiling is and to see how much, if we went all the way to the ceiling, how much we need to scribe, or we can actually do just lay down a filler and have kind of a flat, kind of shaker looking finish for the upper trim. So let's go ahead and measure off of the line at multiple points to see how our ceiling is going, because the floor and the ceilings typically aren't perfectly parallel.
Yeah.
You'll have a little bit of out of level. So we're using the laser to help us check that today.
So right there, we're at about 56 3/4. So right there, we're at 56 5/8. So we've already lost an eighth.
So we're measuring kind of 12 inches out from the wall roughly,
Yeah.
where the crown's gonna hit the ceiling.
We just lost another quarter.
So it looks like we're kind of going downhill.
So we've lost a total of 3/4 of an inch. And then we're going back up.
So 3/4 of an inch over, what is this, probably 14 feet or so? And it's dipping in the middle. So if we were gonna actually use a crown molding, we'd have to scribe it into the reveal of the crown molding, and that would look ridiculous, right? And then we don't have the ability to kind of shrink it and build a crown stack. I didn't want like a 3-piece or a 2-piece crown stack, so it's likely we're just gonna go ahead and lay down a board and finish it out, hold it from the ceiling just a little bit, okay? I think that'll be an overall better look. We'll talk to Megan and see if that's what she wants to do. All in all, we've spent about an hour and a half in here verifying everything. Again, crucial step. We want to make sure that this happens. We've changed not only the island, we've changed this elevation. We've made some minor adjustments in total. We've changed our trim design to make sure that that's going to look good in the end, and pretty productive hour and a half. So we'll get the cabinet order correct. And then you've got a pretty good idea on how to attack this and what you're going to be dealing with overall. So a good time spent from an installer standpoint, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Today's the day. We're actually getting excited. The truck's going to be pulling up here soon with all the cabinetry. It's been nice kind of taking apart the kitchen, doing all the mechanicals and everything, but the thing that makes it really exciting is seeing the kitchen go back together. So our kitchen actually has shown up. It's ready to go assembly. Can you walk us through a little bit of what's going to happen with the kitchen?
Definitely. So once this shows up for assembly, we have our quality control go through to double check the order to your invoice and packing slips to make sure that it's 100% there before it even gets touched. After that, once we verify that this order is complete, we actually go through and we have our assembly team start opening them up and getting them put together. After these cabinets get assembled, they go through a pretty rigorous quality control. They are inspected for making sure that the drawers are soft closed, the hinges are also soft closed, that everything is functioning, that there's no blemishes, dents, dings, any issues.
One of the things we've done over the last couple of years is really take a focus on quality control and making sure that we put the best product possible out on the job sites. So that helps with not having people have to bring things back, return, things of that nature, keeping people moving well on the job sites.
There's no question that when those cabinets arrive to your job site that they're going to be complete and ready for install.
Great. Well, appreciate your efforts there.
Not a problem.
Naturally, they're building their boss's kitchen, but overall, it was a pretty steady flow and exactly what we would do for our clients. We put the order in, we had cabinets ready to go in about 4 days, and then the cabinets are coming in. We're doing a Saturday delivery. One thing that Highland Cabinetry offers keeps the flow of the job site moving, especially if we got mechanicals done throughout the week. We wanted to get cabinets installed, so luckily we have an installer, my son, with Ray Cabinetry, that's going to do the installation over the weekend so we can keep this job flowing. We're only a couple of weeks in on this entire project and cabinets are ready to go in. So things are moving pretty smooth. There was a lot of changes along the way. We want to make sure that we get it right. So again, that was such an important step for us to come together and figure out what we can do.
Right now I'm just kind of checking if everything is laid out how we talked about and all the changes are easily visible, so I'm not making any mistakes during the actual install. Making sure everything lines up with what we talked about and all the changes are easily visible. So now that we have everything checked in, the next move for an installer is to get everything situated and set out of the way so you can have an open space, because right now all the cabinets are where I need to be working. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them all out of their boxes and then take off all the doors on all the cabinets, set those aside. So I just have a bare cabinet that's ready to be set in place, and then we'll kind of go from there. So now that all the doors and drawers are out of the cabinets, We want to set up the area so we're ready to drop them into place. The cabinets are 34.5 inches tall, so I'm gonna set a level laser at 34.5 and then check the floor. You want to make sure your range is as close to 34.5 as possible, because once you put tops on it, you want those tops to be level with the top of the range. You don't want that to be too low or too high, because then it just looks goofy. What we decided was make sure where the range is 34.5, and then if we need to cut down any in this high corner, we will, but kind of basing it off where the range is the best route for us. Now that we've done that, I will lay out studs throughout, so you can kind of just set the cabinet, screw it off, and work your way down and not have to check every single time. It's very important to plan as much as you can. I probably spend an hour or two planning before I even start touching the cabinets. And I think one of the ugliest things about an install is if you try and go into a stud and there's nothing there, and then you just have to start drilling like crazy. I see that so much. There's just holes all throughout the cabinet. So I'm paranoid. I use 2 stud finders. I check with this just so I can get the general area. And then this one finds the screw for the drywalls connected to the stud. So no matter what, it's gonna be correct. This is the first cabinet we're gonna be installing. Here is the filler for it. I'm gonna set it kind of near its spot, add the filler, and then set it against the wall and see if we need to do any adjusting of the filler to the wall. Deciding on doors. So this door is, since it's over here, is probably gonna open this way. So these pre-drilled screws for the doors, you don't want to install your face frame screws there, just because then the door doesn't have anywhere to go. So you want to make sure to stay away from these pre-drilled. I know it's tempting since it's already pre-drilled to use it, but if you need to swap our doors, which in this case we do, don't use them. If you aren't swapping your doors and they're in the right spot, then you can use them. As you can tell, I put a level on this, bottom to top. It's nice and flush to the wall, but we have this nice bow in the center. 3 things you can do is scribe the filler, which would be to take off this material so everything is flush, or you can put a piece of scribe, which is actually a trim piece, to hide that. And then the third option would be just to caulk that. I'm going to do the best one, which is actually scribe the filler to the wall. It's the cleanest of them all, and it just makes for an overall better finish. I just take an orbital sander with a high grit and take off what I need, or you could do a jigsaw, but I say the orbital with a high grit is the best way. Pro tip for when you're shimming is put the shim overhanging, so when you put the next cabinet, it lands right on it. Since the cabinets are the same height, you're gonna want that to be shimmed at the same level. Instead of doing 2 shims next to each other, you just put it in, hanging off, put the cabinet on that shim, and then you can kind of keep going level. Just makes your life quicker and easier when you're installing. So the first step before doing any leveling is you want to make sure faces are screwed together and level face to face. A good tip is to put the layout on the wall that you're installing cabinets. It saves you time, because when you're setting cabinets, you wonder what your next cabinet is. I have a bad habit of just placing it on the ground or around, and then I'm always looking for the layout. Instead, it's just look up, next cabinet, place it, and then you can also see any other details you need quickly. So the next cabinet is a 2DB30. A pro tip, or just a tool you want to have when you're installing, these little hand jacks, I actually was super skeptical of them at first. So right now I would have to basically be holding this against the wall and then shove a shim under it. But instead I just put these under, jack them up to the exact laser level line, and then I snug a shim up and then pop them off. So now we're throwing in the pantry cabinet. Since it is so heavy with the rollouts, it is difficult to get into place, but it's basically the same process as the other ones. So I measured where my stud was gonna be prior to putting this in, and it ended up at 11.5 interior. So I already have it marked there. I'm gonna mark it up here. This would be like the same as the floor. So I want the cabinet next to it to land in the exact same spot. So it'll land on that shim. Now once I screw that to the wall, it's not gonna suck it and make it out of plumb. It's going to stay where it's supposed to be. Pantries, you want a couple install screws in the studs. There's a nailer right at the top of here. Here's what I'm saying about nailers, is if you connect the cabinet to the wall through this just 1/4 inch piece, it's not going to be as strong as going through the actual nailer. This gives you the meat that you need in order to really secure the cabinet. So top is where I've been doing all of them. The pantry, you want to do another one in the center, because with the rollout trays, if they're all open, it's putting a lot of weight pulling the cabinet away from the wall, and the last thing you want is the cabinet to come off the wall. So definitely put another one in the center. So we are on day 3 of installation, almost ready for countertop measuring. That should be coming later today. So now we're focused on getting this island set, and we're gonna run through how we made these with Highland products. The island top is a little wider than 60 inches. So we have these legs coming out a little bit further. So this gives you room to sit, and then it gives you that support for the actual top. Having this nice beefy edge on both sides gives it a nice furniture look. And then we'll have furniture base that also wraps around that to just give it that blocky look on the island. For the wall, we're basically gonna make an exoskeleton underneath it and then do the panels to it so they have proper support. With some extra material we have left over from the refrigerator panels, we are going to make basically a wall. And then the front fillers get attached to the sides, and then you just put the panels up. So everything was undersized a little bit more than a 1/2 inch because it's 1/2 inch panels going onto the side. We're gonna assemble this. I'm gonna put them on, it's a 60-inch wall, so I'm gonna put them on 15-inch centers. And then from there, I'll take our vertical pieces, and these were cut to 33.5 because we want this wall to be the same height as the cabinets, which is 34.5. So 33.5 plus 1/2 inch gets us to that height. Thank you. And then I attach these on before I put them onto the skeleton. So we're gonna go 1/2 strong on each side. I put just a 23 gauge nail in just to hold it in place. And then after that, I will do some screws to actually really secure it, and set your pre-drill to the size of your screw. Pre-drill, always, you don't want to split that filler or split this piece because then it just compromises your structural rigidity of the item. So always pre-drill everything. That's like the #1 tip I can recommend for installation. Pre-drill all the things. And now we can attach the filler piece, and it should be flush with the bottom and flush with the top. On the bottom, I'm gonna use the 18 gauge just because we are having base that goes around this, so you won't see it. And then on the top, I will just use the 23 gauge to basically hold it in place. And then once this gets screwed to the cabinets, the screws will actually go into the panel. That kind of squares up the whole wall and adds a lot of structure to it. So now there's no flimsiness to it. And now we have the other side to go on, and then we'll have a fully slate wrapped wall. So these are getting covered with deco doors, which are basically just plain doors that would go on cabinets, but instead they're put on the sides to give it that finished look. Kind of finishes it out to have that same shaker style on the entire island. So all sides are shaker. Adds a extra finished look to it. Pretty much I gotta screw everything together, and then it moves all as one, and then I have to screw it to the floor. So you wanna make sure the island's staying square. So it's good to shim these back just to make sure it all runs straight and doesn't like start taking a curve. And also I screw them together just like I did here to the wall. Another highlight of why Highland Cabinetry is a good cabinet to go with is because you do have ply that is a little more structurally sound versus the particle board that likely would rip apart with only that much grab. You may be questioning why I ran this filler all the way to the ground versus the other base cabinets where it ends at the bottom of the cabinet. And the reason is because this is actually getting a base that goes on the face cross, because you don't need that toe room because it is under the island. So you want to have that finished look, and having the base run to the actual face gives it more of a furniture look. I'll run both fillers all the way to the ground just so it adds extra material you can nail that base to. Since these cabinets are getting screwed to a wall, they're just getting screwed together, and then we're going to screw them to the floor. We want to make sure everything is square. So openings like this, you want to make sure they are the same front and back. So this is an 1 3/4 inch, 1 3/4, and then you can screw these cabinets together. With the face frames, you have your 1/4 inch, and when they're put together, it makes a 1/2. So I just use some offcut from the skins, which is a 1/2 inch wide skin right there to make sure these cabinets are parallel. So we'll just screw cabinet to cabinet, and then this will be completely locked in and won't be moving in the back at all. This is all pretty sturdy together, so this all should move as one. I'm gonna wait to put the sink basin just because I'm gonna have to cut for plumbing. And I wanna have this exactly where it needs to be before I make those cuts for the plumbing holes, because I don't wanna have to oversize those or them be in the wrong spot. So I like to be super precise with those. So I'm gonna get this island set first, and then the sink basin going after. Island centered with the pendant lights, also square with the rest of the kitchen. So measure off of the walls on all sides and make sure it's as close as possible since the walls do have some waviness to them. Laying out your island takes time, but definitely worth it to make sure it's where you want it, because the last thing you want is a crooked island. Right now I'm measuring corner to corner, and we're exactly 108 1/8, both corner to corner. So this island is perfectly square. So taping off on all the corners, since I have it where I want it. One, it'll kind of help it from not moving. And two, if it does move, I can see how far and where I need to move it back to. It's exactly where I want it right now, but once I start drilling, since I have to go at an angle, sometimes it'll suck it to one way or the other. So I'd like to keep it exactly where it is. So today we got the island all set, everything together, ran through the deco wall on the side. So everything should be ready for the countertop guys to come and do the island and then everything around as well as the back wall uppers. So we're just gonna wait on them to get their measurements. That should be later today. And then after that, we'll jump into the cabinets that go on top. So these get a double stack cabinet. So we'll kind of run through the design aspect of that and what options you have if you do a double stack. Everything else will be just trimmed from there and then we'll be done.
So we're a few weeks into the project. How's it going? Feeling a little bit of the pressure?
I'm feeling a lot of the pressure.
As we get into the project, we've kind of changed some things along the way. Even the best laid plan likely is going to change. So we did a pretty major change with the floors. We decided to throw the finishing of the floors earlier.
Yes.
And that's changed and allowed us to kind of make the whole home nicer in the end. But we're going to miss the Thanksgiving holiday, which was a big deal to you.
I love the holidays, and I told him, please do not start this project if you don't think you'll hit like these dates. And he's all, no, how we're doing this, it's gonna hit, we're gonna be fine. And adding the flooring kind of pushed it out, which was okay because today we get countertops. Yeah. We're gonna plug in.
Make sure you have a sink. Yeah,
and
we don't typically use the whole kitchen. We typically have kind of roasters and different things anyways.
And then we're gonna go to the
neighbors. We decided together that Thanksgiving wasn't as important as getting the floors done. So that's what we decided.
It was, this is more important to get it all done and then be ready for Christmas. That's the big one for me. So Thanksgiving is big to me, but Christmas is bigger. So
let's get it done.
I hope.
Now the whole family can come for Christmas and we'll have a great Christmas. Okay?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right.
Okay.
We're setting tops today at the project and we want to make sure that we have everything ready to go. So we're double checking all of the appliance openings to make sure everything is exactly what we want. Sometimes the cabinets can get kicked around while we have other trades in here. So make sure you take 5-10 minutes, go back through everything before the tops get set. So we're going back through, we're double checking. We've got our dishwasher opening. It's exactly just a skosh over 24, so it's nice snug fit. And then we also have a 48-inch range. So we want to make sure that they don't squeeze our opening too much, that they're nice and flush with the side of the cabinets, and we maintain at least our 48. I always like to give about 1/8 of an inch extra. Some people like to give 1/4 of an inch, but it's a great pro tip to go back through, double check everything. We're actually having Express Hardwood and Flooring come in to do the sanding, as well as all the dust containment within the house. This company does an amazing job, as you can see, covering all the finished goods that we have installed, covering all the cabinetry, pictures, everything that we have within the house. So they do a fantastic job of making sure that they control the dust. So we're getting excited. This is gonna be a major change within the house and we're looking forward to seeing it completed. Here's a good pro tip for you. If you're gonna have the floors done after the cabinets are installed, make sure to leave off of any of the finished flooring trim, i.e. toe kick material, finished moldings, so the company can come in and get nice and close to the cabinetry and not damage that final trim work. So once the flooring company is done with the final finish, we'll come back, put in all that final trim work and make sure everything is detailed out. None of that final trim has actually been damaged during the floor prep. Because we actually moved the wall that was right here, we actually had to lace in new hardwood floors prior to the company coming and finishing the floors. It was a step that we wanted to take care of and make sure that our final product of the entire first floor looked really, really nice with the new cabinetry. And all of that's been worked. It was about 20 hours worth of custom lacing in of that hardwood, but since that work is done, this floor should look amazing when it's all said and done. The floors came out amazing. The company did the perfect color, looks great with the kitchen. My wife is super excited, so we're happy to have that done. And the overall project is gonna actually finish up sooner than what we thought, because we thought the final stages were gonna take us into next year, but we decided to bite the bullet and do it now. Today, Appliance Factory is bringing our appliances. Because this is our dream kitchen, have extremely nice appliances put in here. So one of the things that we splurged on is very nice appliances, and I can't wait to see them. I love to cook, and to have those appliances coming in today makes me super excited. Additionally, we've actually had some parties over here just kind of showing off to our friends the kitchen and how things have changed. We saw the island layout and how the entire flow of the kitchen was gonna work out on paper, but to have it actually come to life and have friends come and enjoy it with us has been kind of next level for us. So we're looking forward to doing more entertaining, doing some great gourmet cooking. Pretty much everything is running exactly the way that we want so far. Tops are awesome, the cabinets are looking fantastic, and today with the appliances, hopefully we got a kitchen that's working.
Wow.
Shiny and exciting.
Can you open it?
Yeah. Have at it.
Ooh. And the water works?
They already tested the water.
Oh my God, it's freezing right there. Oh my gosh, it's huge.
What a difference nice appliances make.
Oh my gosh, that's like a spaceship.
Look at that. So these actually have the roller bearings. So no matter how much weight you put on it, it rolls.
Take that now.
Yeah. Well, look at the handles. When you move the handles, look at the handle kicks out like a. So usually that's not the case. Usually, so these are designed so that a lot of people just kick them shut.
Oh my gosh, can you not do that again?
They're designed. That's what happens. Chefs kick them shut.
Very cool, babe.
You like them?
Are you happy? This is your thing.
This is a big deal for me, for sure. I wanted nice appliances in our kitchen. I didn't want cheap appliances. One of the selling features for this particular refrigerator was the look of the inside, the color of the lighting, the use, how much cubic feet it is. Very usable refrigerator.
I do most of the cooking.
You do most of the cooking, but I'll be doing some show cooking. Are you happy?
Yes. All right.
Pretty cool. So we're coming up to the final stages of this kitchen. Yep. And today we're actually going to do the last bits to get all the trim work done, put the deco panels on, and then we're going to start working on finalizing the shelves for the coffee bar. But our son is coming home today, so we're going to do kind of a fun reveal. How are you feeling about that with him?
I'm very excited because when we Snapchat or when we're talking to each other, he's like, I keep looking at where you're at going, where is she? And then I have to sit there and go, oh my gosh, that's my house.
We're not 100%, we're probably 95% right now with the little tidbits, but it looks like a working kitchen. We've been using it, it's been awesome.
I love it.
So it's coming together.
Yes,
okay.
It is.
So another thing that we added to this kitchen was a filler in between the double stack. It kind of breaks up all the seams. That's just a 3x96" filler, white. Another element that adds more detail to the kitchen instead of just having that double stack. We see tons of kitchen that just do the double stack. It's just another addition to add a little more character to the kitchen. So it's something you could do or not, it's really up to you. We have BM8, which is base molding. Here is what it comes as. It has this detail. That's just preference. If you wanna stick with the base molding that has a little more detail and character, or if you want something that's a little simple and modern, you can go with just a 6" wide filler and use that as your base molding. So a pro tip for trim pieces is I always use just a touch-up kit marker. So another reason why you should get a touch-up kit, but I just give a little color on those raw edges, just so when it comes together, instead of seeing, like if it's a tidbit off, you can kind of see that raw wood coming through, even though that's like a nice tight miter fold, the raw wood sticks through. So just a small thing to make all your miter folds look a little better, especially with a dark color. With white, it's not so obvious, but with something as dark as slate or our black, it's definitely a good tip to just give a little color in there, and then it'll make that seam look a lot tighter. With this piece of base, we can't really return it unless we wanted to have that removable. What we're actually gonna end up doing is just ending it with a miter fold return before, And the reason why you need this piece to be removable or not have a piece right here is the dishwasher needs to be serviceable. So you need to be able to pull this out. So we match that on both sides. That side's actually finished already. Someone who didn't think about that would easily just put a piece there. And then if you ever need to take this out, you'd have to rip the front and side piece off. This would overhang that amount, and now that dishwasher is not coming out. So with all my trim, I always start out with a 23 gauge, even with this base, which usually put in with 18. Start out with 23, get everything fully installed. It makes the smallest holes, and then if anything needs to be removed and shaved down, you're not gonna have those giant holes that you're just making a ton of 18 gauge holes. So start with a small nail, and then get everything set, everything looks perfect, then go to your 18 and do the final. Another thing I would recommend, especially for base and crown, is base is gonna get a lot of abuse. There's gonna be people that end up kicking these corners, hitting it with vacuums. So I would glue your seams, make sure everything stays together, because if you just nail them, it's way more likely to separate over time.
So one of the things Megan has been talking about is having kind of a little custom touch. As I used to do full custom kitchens, and now I work with Highland Cabinetry to do kitchens. When I'm doing my own work, I like to put a little touch of custom into it, and a lot of our dealers do that as well. So I took Megan up to a surprise shopping day to go up to a slab company, and she selected her own slab, walked around the warehouse until she found that right slab that kind of spoke to her. And she said, this is the slab that's gonna have some really neat coffee gear on it. And it's gonna give it that touch of custom that kind of makes us all happy and makes Megan happy, because this is something she wanted to have me build. We don't do this at Highland Cabinetry, but a lot of our dealers will do little custom touches. So it kind of makes it that next level kitchen and gives it a little personality as well. So our old kitchen did not have a hood in it. And one of the things I wanted was a top-notch hood. So Vent-A-Hood built us a custom hood that allows us to actually take and put plates up here with plate warmers. So something that I had in one of the rental houses we had on vacation, and I always wanted it in my own kitchen. So you can cook, get a bunch of plates going, and then put your plates up here and keep them warm. Fantastic. We had an extra wide hood built with an extra light in it, and these plate holders. So fantastic hood by Vent-A-Hood. Thank you so much, Fine Lines, for making that happen.
Wow, it looks really good.
Totally different, huh?
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
What do you think?
It's lovely.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that looks really good.
Came together.
Yeah.
So Dawson's working on the last little tidbits.
Ooh, these are cool.
So those are going in.
You got what you wanted.
And
The one thing.
The one thing you wanted.
The one thing.
Good.
But yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Highland actually sells these touch-up kits. It comes with a wax crayon that matches all the colors that we have. So it's always good to get one of these. It has a marker as well and some other little tools, but the wax is what I use the most. So at the start, just rub it on there, and then you really want to press the wax into the hole. So you don't want it just to be on the surface, you want to actually fill that hole. And then with a kind of coarse, I use painter's rags, just wipe pretty softly. You want to just take off the top. With the 18 gauge, they're pretty deep, so you have to do it a couple times. Using the wax is a lot better than using silicone or caulk. I see a lot of jobs done with just caulk throughout, and then it never really looks as good as the wax comes out. Another good tool to have is just these plastic putty knives. They're only like $1 at Home Depot. And instead of having the metal, which sometimes scratches the surface, these plastic won't. You can really kind of rub it against it. I still use a rag on top, but this will help it get nice and flat versus your finger that has that kind of squish to it that pulls it out of the hole. And then for seams, what I do is I'll take a little butane torch, or you can do a lighter, and just kind of heat up the wax just a little bit. And then kind of just pull it down that seam. And this is just pressing it into the little gaps. And then I'll take the torch again. You want to stay far away because you don't want to harm the finish, but it'll just loosen up that wax a little bit. Move quickly, don't stay in one spot for too long, and then you can kind of just pull that wax off. That'll just wipe right off. So Highland Cabinetry sells these deco doors. They're on board, but what this is used for is to put on the side of the cabinets. So right now we have just this plain finish panel, but if you put this up there, it adds a nice detailed finish, gives it more shaker style. This is completely optional, but if you want to add a little more characteristic to your kitchen and detail, this is a good option. If you can't get to the back, you can nail or glue and nail with a pin nailer. But since I can get to these cabinets on the inside, I'll run a screw through the back to hold these on. So for spacing on these doors, I want to make sure this bottom is flush with the bottom of this door versus the actual face frame. So I want to make sure these are in line. It looks pretty good right there. And then I pull them a little bit off the wall, just about 1/8. So when you're screwing, you want to make sure you're landing in the style chunk. You don't want to grab the center panel because this is only about 1/4 inch thick. You want to grab the 3/4 inch stiles. So just make sure you're staying mindful of where your nails are going, or screws. And I'm just gonna hit this corner and this corner. Doesn't need much, but this will hold it in place. We're gonna do some on the sides of this island. Something totally just preference, but gives it that finished look and adds that shaker look to the entirety of the island.
So we got your kitchen done.
Oh my gosh, you keep calling this my kitchen. Let's
It's
be
our
real.
kitchen.
It's your kitchen.
And it's probably more mine than yours, but it got wrapped up. What do you think?
It's beautiful. I love it.
Came out absolutely amazing.
Yes.
The cabinetry is far better than expected as far as the overall layout. The installation came out amazing. The guys in the shop did a fantastic job. Having all the additional storage, rollouts,
Yes.
all of that is amazing. So we're just getting settled in. Still have
You gotta
some
get
decorations.
used to it.
Yes. So
It's different.
So you got to stop opening up the pantry thinking it's the refrigerator because we moved some things around, but it is done. So we're excited to get after it. And we had the holidays in here,
Yes.
and we had the family over. We had multiple parties and events, and it went awesome. So glad to be done.
Yes, I'm so glad to be done. I know that this kitchen should have taken a lot longer, and we did it on super speed, and because their cabinets are made fast, and so Dawson could get in here and get it done, and
It's done, and
it's
a wrap.
perfect. It's perfect for me.
Glad you're
I
happy.
love it. Yes.
All right, moving on to the next project.
No.
Okay.
No.